Hi everyone, welcome back to Total War Therapy, and today we're gonna answer to the question which are the most underrated units in Total War Warhammer 3. Of course this is just my opinion, so feel free to disagree and share in the comments which are the most underrated units for you. So don't forget to subscribe if you enjoy my video, and let's begin. Let's start with the Pistoliers from the Empire. It was back in the 2021 that I started to play this game, and I was watching a lot of video guides about unit rosters and so on, and I could already feel that this unit was neglected by the other YouTubers. And I understand why. Their missile strength is very poor and they're supposed to be a missile cavalry, and even in the long term they struggle to make damage. But later I understood that if a unit doesn't look strong, it's probably because you're not focusing on the right abilities. The Pistoliers from the Empire are a very cheap unit. They are almost the price of an Empire infantry, and they are very easy to recruit. You can already get them in the early campaign, and their speed is 90. And in the early campaign it's very hard to find a unit that fast. Probably only dogs or little flying monsters like bats, ghost furies and harpies can outrun them. But if the enemy is not provided with this kind of unit, your Pistoliers will be probably the fastest unit in the battlefield. That's why they are so strong, because they can use their speed and their harassing missile attack to distract the enemy and to attract, to bait them in another part of the battlefield. So if your enemy army is probably bigger than yours, you can just attack the first part, the first half of this army, while these Pistoliers are distracting the other half. And when you will have taken care of the first half of the enemy army, you can look for the second. That's why they are so strong if used correctly. The second unit I want to talk about are the Chaos Spawns. Now, this is another very blamed unit from the community, and in my opinion it's mostly because there are too many variants of this unit. There are probably 6 different factions in the game that can recruit their own version, and at the end it gets quite boring. But at the same time, if I have to be honest, when I use them in my army compositions, I can feel they are quite strong, or at least stronger than what the community thinks. Their armor is very low, and the melee attack and melee defense are not that insane, but they are unbreakable. And for me this is a very nice attribute, because no matters what happen over the battlefield, they will remain stuck, stand still there, and that's why they are so useful. They are a good support monsters infantry, so I would not rely on them to absorb damage, but they are very good at dealing damage, so at supporting your other infantry, your other chaos infantry to, you know, to do damage to the enemy. And yeah, the charge is also not that good, but the speed is great, so you can even try to flank the enemy to hit the rear and the back and so on. And the cost terror, of course, so they will reduce the leadership of your enemy. Then they are quite expensive, I have to be honest with that, but overall I think they deserve more attention. Now let's move forward to the Eagle Claw Ball Throwers, and actually even the Dark Elves counterpart. Now, this is another unit that when I move around the community videos and so on, is very criticized by the community itself, and I understand that it's probably not the best artillery piece of the game, but still, especially in the High Elves, Dark Elves roster, it can be valuable, even because this faction kinda lack of artillery long range units. Their range is not that good, is 380, so it's a short range artillery, and amongst the 2 mods, one specialized against single entities and one against infantry, I think that the only good option is the anti-infantry one. The single shot to single entities just doesn't deal enough damage, and it's not that accurate. But the anti-infantry one, it's very accurate, it's very hard to dodge from the enemy even in the hard difficulty, in the hard settings, and it can hit the enemy a lot, they do a lot of damage, even compared to other mortars. Probably I prefer it, even if they have a shorter range. Of course, they are an artillery piece, so you have to be very careful of them. They can be flanked by fast enemies and so on. But if used correctly, even given the short range and the poor missile strength, they are very effective at the role. And as I said, they are the only artillery option for elves, high elves and dark elves. So give them a try, and you will see that they actually work. Now, I played recently a new campaign with the RNS. I already played Vampire Coast in the past, but I feel I never gave a real chance to these Bat Riders, the deck droppers. And honestly, I could never imagine that they could be that strong, and now I'm having a lot of fun with them. First, they are cheap and not that easy to recruit because they need a specific chain of building. But yeah, all the three versions of them, the pistols, the bombs and especially the handgunners, are quite powerful. First, they are fast and flying. They have 80 of speed, that is probably lesser than mostly other little flying monsters. But I mean, at the end, it's bats, you know, carrying a zombie, so they feel the weight. But it's not a problem because the missile infantry of your zombies can easily cover them if they are going through some hard times. And I mean, if they are engaged by other monstrous flying infantry. And their melee attack and melee defense is low, but they still have the Cause Sphere, so you can use to lower the leadership of your enemies. But yeah, let's focus on their missile attack. It's very powerful, especially the handgunners. They have a lot of missile strength. If you target the flanks or the back, or even a very armored elite infantry, you will see that the damage is insane for such a cheap units. And they have a very good mobility, so you can decide where to deploy them, where to attack. So I really think you should give them a try. Of course, if you already bought the DLC of the Vampire Coast, and yes, they look funny. That's why probably you don't feel to rely on them, and they require a lot of management. But believe me, it's just insane. This is a hard one, the Snotling Pump Wagons. Now, I already said in some previous videos how much I like this unit, how much I think that this unit is helpful, and I got criticized a lot for that. But I wanna state again that for me this is an incredible unit, and I wanna explain you why. First, with one of the last patches, you can recruit them with your settlement buildings, and this is a very big advantage because you don't need to build the advanced military building like for the other version of the pump wagons. And so they're a cheap unit, okay? They are not supposed to be used in the mid-late campaign, but just in the early campaign. You will have a disposable chariot, very easy to recruit, that you can send for a cheap price against all the light infantry of the early game of your enemy, and you will see that they work very well against the light infantry. They are expendable, so even if they rout at some point, they will not affect the other units. And they have this thing called the pump hard lads, that I mean, when they charge, their speed, the charge speed and charge bonus is increased, and yeah, you can feel that it's strong. They just throw away all the light, of course, enemies they find in their path. And as I said, they're very cheap. I mean, I don't think there is a cheaper chariot that works that well like that. So I really suggest you to give a try, even if they're of course weak, because they're a cheap chariot, so they don't have a good armor. Their melee attack and melee defense is incredibly low, but there are a lot of entities. There are 12 entities, and if you hit the enemy at the right point, they will bring the havoc to the battlefield. Believe me, give them a try, and yeah, thank me later. At the release of Shadows of Change, as you know, there was a very bad mood all over the community, and I think that this unit got affected by that. Many people were making jokes about the Zhangu war drums, they were saying that it was not even a unit, it could not be included as a unit in the DLC. That's why probably at the end Creative Assembly with the enhanced Shadows of Change, they decided to give us 6 units for Grand Cathay and not 5 like for the other faction. But I actually think that this is a great unit. Of course, is a support chariot, so like the corpse chariots of the vampire counts, and I had a lot of fun with that. It's an harmony amplifier, so it helps overall your Cathay army. It's unbreakable, so no problem about this unit running away. It has missile resistance, and with a good armor of 80, arrows will not be a huge problem. There is an ability that increases the leadership of all the units around, and then this unit has these 2 special abilities that you can decide if use one or the other. That one helps your units to get a better stats, better offensive stats, so the reload skill, the melee attack, and they can be even immune to psychology, that if you are against an enemy army full of monsters, this is a huge advantage. Or another ability that helps, that get to your army a plus 24 of armor and the expert charge defense for all units. These are crazy abilities. It's not just a technology skill tree. Of course, if you have a character that has very strong support abilities, this is a big plus. But even this unit itself, it's insane. You can this increase in the stats, especially not the stats itself, but the expert charge defense and the immune to psychology attributes. They're very, very helpful in the battlefield, and that's why I think that in the late campaign, if you want to play defensively with your Cathay army, one of these units it's essential, and it can make the difference even if it doesn't look like. Of course, it's a little expensive, I cannot lie on that, but the result overall for me is amazing. Another unit that is strongly criticized by the community is the Giants. I'm taking the Norscan Giant as an example just because aesthetically is my favorite, but what I'm saying accounts for every Giant of the game. Now, the fact about Giant is that they are a niche units. Yeah, they're not a versatile monster for any army, any situation. No, they're a very specific unit that you have to recruit just in specific armies against particular enemies, not against everyone. So they don't have an excellent armor, and that's why, and they are a big target. That's why their biggest enemy are the missile infantry, missile units overall, but especially infantry. If you're playing against, if you're fighting an army full of missile infantry, like it can be with dwarves, empire, and elves, probably they are not the right choice. You should avoid to recruit a giant. But if you're playing against an offensive faction, that can be a chaos, monogod faction, or even legion men, there are many different faction that they don't rely on missile power. In this case, the giants can be a very valuable option. They, as I say, no, I didn't say that. Their melee attack and melee defense, it's good. The melee defense can look a little low, but you have to consider that there is not a huge area for your enemy to surround the giants and attack, so the melee defense is good. The weapon strength are probably the strongest in all the game. They can reach easily 700, and with all the addition of the skill tree and so on, they can be stronger than many powerful characters in the game. The charge bonus also is not that powerful because they are still very slow even compared to other monsters. They have a little of missile resistance, but as I say, don't rely on that. So if you're playing against an offensive faction, you can just put it in the middle of the battlefield and attract and bait as many enemy units as possible, and you will see that they are very strong. It's very hard to take them down. I mean, if you don't have missile power, it's almost impossible to take down one of them. And yeah, they will have all the time to deal a lot of damage with their splash attack, and they will destroy everything they would see. Even the large entities, they are not good only against infantry. They're good against everything, literally everything. So please give a try to giants overall, because if you use them in a specific situation, you can see their true value. Now, I waited so long, so many months to talk finally about the Frost Wyrm. I already announced that in many previous videos, because I think that the Frost Wyrm is an excellent monster in this game. But the community blamed that a lot, just because probably they didn't figure out how to use it correctly. There is even a video with a lot of views on YouTube that is just a critics to this monster, and I can tell you that I don't feel that is correct. Now, listen to me. The Frost Wyrm is not a tank. It's not supposed to absorb damage from many units surrounding it. The Frost Wyrm is neither a predator. It's not supposed to chase down other mounted characters or monsters or cavalry. This is what we can call an harassing monsters, like the Colossal Squig, for example. These kind of monsters, they are not particularly tough, they are not particularly strong. Their main attributes is the exceptional speed, the charge bonus, and in any case the good penetration. They can move around the battlefield with very easily, and you can feel that. They require a lot of management, but if you use them in the proper way, they are just unbeatable. So in the case of the Frost Wyrm, you have also a good armor, so they are not that easy to take down. They have the frostbite, so they can reduce the speed of the enemy, and this is helpful if you want to move around and run away from the different enemies. The weapon strength, they are armor piercing and anti-large, so even if you attack cavalry, it can be a good strategy, and the melee defense is quite low. That's why you have to run away, because these are huge, large monsters that if surrounded, they will be hit by multiple ways from the enemy, so you have to run away, you have to move around. You can never be stuck in a situation, and you cannot be stuck because, as I said, with their charge bonus, with their mass, they can easily escape even a bunch of infantry covering them up. So just move around, hit, charge, flank, then hit the missile units, then go back to the infantry that's attacking your front line, then help your flankers to defend from the cavalry. Just move it around and you will see that it's so powerful, and if you're using a spellcaster on it, it's even more. So yeah, please give a try to this unit, because it's one of my favorite of the Kislev roster, that is already one of my favorite faction, and yeah, we will see very soon.